You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Incoming transmission.
You're listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
That's right, it's the last HoloNet podcast of the year 2018, and it's going to be a wild one. Here we go.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Oh, yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network from beautiful western Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Holloway. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Today is Sunday in the year of our Lord 2018. It is December the 30th. It is the day before New Year's Eve. Excuse me. Took last week off for Christmas. Kinda had to. Didn't really have a choice. Didn't plan Christmas that well this year, to be perfectly honest and straightforward with all of you. And so, kinda wound up having to go out to my mother's, go out and, handle the in-laws. Kids had a blast. They had a great time. Always do. And all in all, paid attention to what's important at Christmas family. But as a result, unfortunately, wasn't able to give you guys a show. So, we come to it. It is the end of 2018. And man, year 2 of the Trumpian age has been intense, has it not? Has it not? Got a lot of news to get through this week. A lot that's getting under the radar. We have the federal shutdown that no one seems to care about at all other than federal employees and members of the media. I mean, this has been the most anticlimactic federal shutdown I think we've seen so far. And survived the Clinton shutdown, the Bush shutdown, the Obama shutdown, now the Trump shutdown, which really should be called the Schumer shutdown. Because Senator Chuck Schumer and also Representative Nancy Pelosi, soon to be Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, just gives me shivers thinking about it, are primarily to blame here. Their intractable attitude regarding border security, their unwillingness to give even an inch. I mean, we're talking about 0.5% of the budget is what we're talking about. But the Democrats refuse to budge even an inch. To allow the president to take necessary action for border security. And we're going to find out later on today, apparently, it's gotten to the extent that local news outlets, local news media, smaller affiliate channels, aren't even pointing out when a crime is committed by an illegal alien anymore. There's a narrative at play here. We're going to get into that. We're going to start off first, though, with some news from the Associated Press. Going to go to picture-in-picture here so you can take a look at what I'm seeing and not so much as my smiling mug. How's that for a cool trick? You see me, and then you see less of me. Yay. Anyway, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or BitChute, that's some good fun. I'm playing around with some new toys that I got for Christmas, and it's entertaining for me, so... Hey, they said have fun while doing a show, and that's what I'm doing, damn it! So, we go to the Associated Press. According to the Associated Press, this is just 33 minutes old, the story. Minimum wage is rising in 20 states and in numerous cities. 20 states have minimum wage increases taking effect at the start of the new year. Excuse me, 29 states and the District of Columbia have set minimum wages above the federal level since 2009 already. Now, this goes in to give us, a day in the life of it. Granny Sheffer's Restaurant in Joplin, Missouri. Owner Mike Wiggins is reprinting the menus to reflect the 5, 10, or 20 cents added to each item. A 2-egg breakfast will cost an extra dime at $7.39. A piece of 3-piece fried chicken dinner will cost up to 20 cents, $8.78. The reason? Missouri's minimum wage is rising. So that is the story to tell. With these minimum wage increases, ladies and gentlemen, in 20 states across the union, you are about to see your cost of living friggin' skyrocket. 10 cents here, 20 cents there. No. Folks, to stay with the food story, that's just the hors d'oeuvre. That's just the appetizers. Crap's going to hit the fan here. Minimum wage laws are ineffective in combating poverty. It's been said by smarter people than me. It's been said by economists. It's been said by pundits. It's been said by analysts for decades that increasing the minimum wage increases the cost of living. It's the old joke that we on the right always get slammed with when we talk about building a wall. You show me a 10-foot wall, I'll show you a 20-foot ladder. You ever wonder why the cost of food has gone up so substantially over the course of the last 10 years? It's not just natural inflation, it's also governmentally induced by increasing minimum wage. Look to the West Coast, look to Washington State, Oregon, California. These cities where the minimum wage has already increased, and you will see that the cost of living has gone up. San Francisco, the cost of living is astronomical, competing even with Manhattan for the ridiculousness of the per square footage price. So AP was correct to point this out right at the offset, saying that price hikes are necessary. Wiggins, the owner of this restaurant, said, "For us, it's very simple. There's no big pot of money out there to get money out of. For the required pay raises, they have to increase their prices." The state and local wage laws come amid a multi-year push by unions and liberal advocacy groups to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour nationwide. Few are there yet, but many states have ratcheted up wages through phased-in laws and adjustments for inflation. In Arkansas and Missouri, voters this fall approved ballot initiatives raising the minimum wage after state legislators did not. In Missouri, the minimum wage will rise from $7.85 to $8.60 an hour on Tuesday, as the first of 5 annual increases that will take it to $12 an hour by 2023. Where is the money coming from? This is an argument we always hear when it comes to federal spending. Where is the money coming from? The money is going to come from you. From you. It's the reason why, McDonald's Big Mac meal cost closer to $10 than it did to $5 10 years ago. People just don't get it. You cannot legislate yourself more money. Our founders realized this. The second people realize they can simply vote themselves more money. Our country is lost. Well, people realized that trick close to half a century ago. And now today, in 2018, as I said, year 2 of the Trumpian age, we are seeing the reality. The New York Post was quick to point this out. Minimum wage increase may lead to business exodus. Gee, you think? New York City business owners may soon take a hike to neighboring towns in New Jersey and Connecticut where labor costs now look much more attractive, say labor experts. By January 1st, New York City will officially hike the minimum hourly wage from $13 to $15 for businesses with 11 more employees, compared to a statewide increase of 25 cents to account for inflation in New Jersey. And New Jersey's new minimum rate notches in at $8.85, or 41% lower than the Big Apple's. Connecticut is standing pat at $10.10 hourly. So, there's a song. Billy Joel, The Night the Lights Went Out on Broadway. You know how they all moved out past the Palisades, out into New Jersey. Well, from business purposes, at least for your small and minimum and medium businesses, for large businesses, your Bear Stearns, this isn't going to be so much of a hit. but for your goods and services in New York, the cost of living in one of the most expensive cities in the world is about to get even higher. Good game, liberals. Nice job. So from there, we have a lot to look at over 2018. What we see in broad strokes is that the nation has got it into its head, collectively speaking, that we can just vote for the world that we want to see without consequence. That if you want open borders, you can just declare open borders and nothing bad's going to happen. That if you want to have your city be a sanctuary for illegal immigrants to come in, that's not going to backfire at all. That by saying a lie is the truth, and that the truth is a lie, we can make it so. And this extends to so many things. This extends to gender. This extends to politics, to identity politics. This is real 1984 type. Our generation, the millennial generation, more than any other, have this concept that we can just have what we want. You know, and I think this may trace back to our childhood, and I know I like to levy a lot of blame at my parents' generation and the boomers. Frickin' boomers. But this really is our own damn fault, isn't it, millennials? We don't just take it as our right to redefine reality, to defy convention. We've taken it as some kind of a duty to do so. To take what the world has held as fact for centuries, nay millennia, and say, no, damn it, we know better. No, a man is not a man and a woman is not necessarily a woman. When it flies in the face of biological reality. There's a clip going around right now of an incident in a New Mexico GameStop where there's an individual, to be as PC as possible, walks into the store. I'm not going to play the video here because it's very, very cuss-laden, and I did not sit here in pre-production for an hour bleeping it out. But this person proceeds to rapidly lose their mind when the poor clerk behind the counter refers to them as sir. Now, for the record, this individual is extremely tall. If I had to guess, I would say probably in excess of 220 pounds, broad shoulders. This person could have played football very effectively. And I don't mean this in a pejorative sense. I mean this was a large, muscular, masculine-appearing person. Okay? To quote a fellow YouTuber and fellow commentator, Magog of Morskar, look him up on YouTube if you get the chance, but mind you, adult content. He would say, that is a man. To which, when I viewed this video, I had to agree. I would have made this mistake. The person's dress seemed to indicate a female. Not a literal dress, but I'm talking about mode of dress. And I believe the person was wearing makeup as well. But in today's day and age, listen, I went to the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I was in high school. You know, audience participation, people dressing up in drag, the whole bit, okay? You know, I did productions on the stage in high school. I've seen men in makeup who are otherwise straight cis men. You know? So what kind of a world do we live in where a gentle correction isn't given, where it's like, no, actually I prefer ma'am? Where instead it's screaming and cussing and threatening people's jobs and livelihood. In some places now it's being made a hate crime. Before everything dropped, when I was a preteen, do you know how many times I was mistaken for a woman on the phone? I mean, this could be a testament to the fact that I grew up in a household full of women, and, some of them maybe had a little bit of a gruffer tone in their voice. No offense, ladies. I'm going to get beat up at my next family party. But I got mistaken for a woman probably 3 times a day up until about the age of 14, albeit on the phone, okay? And it's never fun. It's a little embarrassing. It's a bad place to start the conversation from when you're on the phone with somebody and they go, ma'am, it's sir. Okay, sir. It happens. But misgendering somebody is not the end-all, be-all of the worst thing that can happen to you in a day. Okay? To have somebody screaming, carrying on, kicking product around a GameStop, threatening to beat the clerk, talking about wanting the number to corporate, and I'm going to call him up, and, it's going to be your job, and this, that, and the other. What kind of a world are we living in now? You go do you and be happy about it and live your life the way you want to live your life. I really don't care. I could not give the least bit of a fornication in midair. I just don't care what you do about you. But when you come in and you start threatening the store clerk because they misgendered you in what appeared to be a somewhat honest mistake that I and most rational human beings would have made, that's when we've got a problem. When we live in a world where everybody feels so entitled to their own truth. That is my truth. No, there is no your truth. There's no my truth. There is the truth. The truth is a thing. Facts exist. They say we live in a post-fact world and that Donald Trump is primarily responsible for that. I'm sorry, that is pure unadulterated bull. Donald Trump did not create the post-fact world. The post-fact world was created by a set of generations, I believe the boomers, and subsequently their children in Gen X and the millennials, who believe that through the willful denial of reality, we can actually change the world around us. As if there's some sort of crazy quantum theory that says if I look at this phone case and I say this is yellow, it suddenly becomes yellow instead of being black. That if I look at this shirt and I say this is purple, it becomes purple. That 2 and 2 can and does equal 5. Thank you, Common Core. And it is a poison. It is a poison that is infecting our hearts, our minds, and our souls, that we have our own personal variant of the truth, and if another person who may be ignorant of that personal variant of the truth contradicts it, we react violently. Now, the left, by and large, has their own collective version of the truth, where increasing minimum wage will increase prosperity, where redistribution of wealth through increased taxation will create prosperity. This is an illusion. This flies in the face of logic. We see it over and over again where Medicare for all or Medicaid for all. Oh, it's the government pays for that. Who pays the government? Every time you say government money, switch that out to my money or your money. Every time somebody says that, every time they say, oh, the government pays for it, no. I'm going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it. The government doesn't pay for a damn thing. The government takes money from me and gives it to somebody else. The government is the middleman. A lot like Patreon is the middleman. I'll come back to that in a little bit. I've kind of gone one screen here. Just because, usually I do this thing and I put up a story up on the screen and, you have me down in the corner and I'm talking about the story. But this is going to be a little different today because before I sat down to record today's podcast, I said to myself, am I helping? Am I saying what needs to be said, or am I saying what I think people want to hear? I don't lie. I don't prevaricate. I don't construct narratives or stories out of vapor. I read these stories, I give my reactions to them, record it on a video, and that's great. Am I saying what needs to be said? Am I saying that there is no harm in saying that a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and there are two genders? You know, there are places where that will get me fired, get charges pressed on me. Just saying this fact that we all grew up with, a man is a man, a woman is a woman, and there are only two genders. In Flagstaff, Arizona, I read in the newspaper the other day, parents are up in arms because the genderbread man entered into the curriculum of one of the charter schools, I believe it was up there. And the permission slip that the parents gave for their students to engage in this program made absolutely no mention nor allusion to the fact that they would be teaching gender-facing studies. This was taught as part of an English curriculum, by the way. I'll try to find the link and throw it down in the description. What the hell does that have to do with English? Is it that we're now teaching pronouns? Because I have little kids. I've got a 5-year-old, twin 2-year-olds, and a little baby girl. Right now, my twins are having a devil of a time with pronouns. And I'm not talking about the 57 different pronouns, Z, G, plus, whatever. Apache, attack, helicopter, all the different pronouns that are being thrown around out there. No, I'm talking about he and she, he and her, them, him. They're having trouble with it. Everybody is her. No, everybody is him. Or everybody is he. They talk about mom, they go, I saw him. No, you saw her. And that's what it is. They're defaulting to the masculine on all of their pronouns. And it's embarrassing at times, especially when we're in mixed company. It's like, no, they don't know any better. They mean no offense. They're two. But what is it when your kids are going to school and now they have to ask someone from what their preferred pronoun is? How the hell am I supposed to explain that to a friggin' 2-year-old? That what you're seeing isn't what you can go by anymore. That's not a man, honey. That's whatever he says he is. And if you get it wrong, you could be expelled from school. Real world consequences, terrible consequences for honest mistakes. Now, I haven't heard back whether this GameStop employee has been terminated, has been disciplined. I sincerely hope not, because I think it's just the absolute height of absurdity. But we are fighting now for the truth. Not for your truth, not for my truth, but for the truth. What we can see, smell, touch, and taste. What is real in this world. It's an ongoing battle. And to date, folks, we are not doing well. Let me go to picture-in-picture here real quick. I believe the Blaze carried the story. Got to see which one it is here. Franklin Graham. Franklin Graham. Billy Graham's son? The preacher? Franklin Graham was thrown on a 24-hour ban from Facebook. Franklin freaking Graham. Okay, Billy Graham was received by the Queen of England in the 1960s and is widely regarded as one of the greatest preachers in American history since the Enlightenment. But now Franklin Graham, his son, and every bit as awesome a force in the Christian world, was banned for 24 hours. This is on Fox News, link in the description. Facebook has now apologized for the 24-hour ban, but sure enough, it still happened. Evangelical leader Franklin Graham accepted Facebook's apology and suggested the social network come up with a standard based on, quote, God's word, after the tech company mistakenly banned him for 24 hours last week over a 2016 post about HB2, North Carolina's controversial bathroom bill, where he defended the governor and the state on HB2, saying it was a good law. If you disagree with Facebook's position on sexual orientation, you can be classified as hate speech, Graham said in an exclusive interview with Fox and Friends on Saturday. So, disagreement has become hate speech. I gave a speech in front of the Phoenix Capitol in 2016, which oddly enough could probably be skewed as hate speech if I was high enough on anybody's radar for them to be noticed, where I said it is becoming a crime, it seems, to disagree. And here we have it. Here we have it. With Carl Benjamin Sargon of Akkad thrown off of Patreon for something that he said on somebody else's stream that he supposedly received a warning for 2 years prior in a different case on an unrelated topic. But they said that was his warning. By the way, a different case on a different topic that they eventually cleared him of any wrongdoing of and apologized to him. And now Franklin Graham getting a 24-hour ban. It was only 24 hours because he's a big enough force where he called them out on their bull and they pulled it back. Otherwise it would have been permanent. For a post he made 2 years ago. So, we have Patreon, who's looking at your entire web presence to determine what is manifestly observable content, or what is your brand overall, which subsequently is why the HoloNet is switching to Subscribestar. If you want to subscribe to the HoloNet, you can do that at theholonet.com. Link is also in the description. We're getting off of Patreon, because it's only a matter of time before the ban hammer comes down on me, boy. So we have Patreon, who's going after stuff you do off their platform, despite their terms and conditions, saying that they're policing on their platform only. And you have Facebook going back 2 years and slapping somebody with a ban for something they posted 2 years ago. What that tells me is that social media companies like Patreon, like Facebook, are picking their targets. They're proactively going through your total online presence, temporally speaking, going back as far as they have to, and in breadth going out to other people's platforms, other people's channels to see what you did and said on their channels and their platforms to bust you if they don't like you. In Franklin Graham's case, somebody at Facebook decided, I'm going to take out the biggest evangelical pastor in the United States. I'm going to get him off of Facebook. And they got caught. And they got called out. In Sargon of Akkad's case, they went looking for something to ban Sargon for. If it wasn't this, it would have been something else. Here is why you get banned. Somebody at social media, at Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, Google, decides they don't like you or your message. That is it. That is the only rhyme and reason that there is to this. We're being singled out and taken down, one voice at a time. You know, Bill O'Reilly used to talk about the culture war. It's moved to a new stage. We're now battling over who controls the truth. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more from the Associated Press and Reuters. You're listening to the HoloNet Podcast on the Lanterns Media Network.
people coming together not for divisiveness of party or for dichotomy of thought, but for unity in principle. And the principles that founded our nation, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Today, ladies and gentlemen, those principles are under the sternest attack that we have seen in many generations. It has become a crime in this nation nearly to express a difference in opinion from what is held by your party to be doctrine, from what is purported by the media to be truth. We have an opportunity to reach out to our fellow Americans regardless of their creed and regardless of their political inclinations, and unite as Americans, not as Republicans or as Democrats, as liberals or conservatives, but to unite around the principles that have guided this nation so well. I've covered a lot of stories, but the story that remains untold is the story of America in the 21st century, when we choose to turn back the tide against progressive socialism, when we choose to embrace the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, when we remember what it is to be Americans. And that principle will not die as long as there is one man, one woman, one child who looks defiantly into the night and says, I am free.
You're listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. The new conservative resistance begins right here, right now.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
You're listening to the HoloNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Yes, that's right. The new millennial conservative resistance does begin right here, right now with you. We're back on the HoloNet podcast here on the Lanterns Media Network, the last HoloNet podcast of 2018. I'm your host, Matt Holloway. Thanks for sticking around with us so far. In the last half hour of the show here, we are going to talk about some more pressing news which has come to our attention. Evidently, there are some 15,000 migrants now. 15,000 illegal migrants on the march up from Honduras. This, according to theblaze.com, the Blaze's Chris Enlow covers this here. Here we go again. Another migrant caravan, this time with an estimated 15,000 travelers, is preparing to depart Honduras next month, immigration activists say. As thousands of migrants who left Central America in October remain stranded at the U.S.-Mexico border while the government processes their asylum applications, another 15,000 migrants are scheduled to leave Honduras on January 15, rather. They say they are even bigger and stronger than the last caravan, Irma Garrido, an immigration activist, told the Los Angeles Times. The caravan is expected to grow as it makes its way north through El Salvador and Guatemala, and like previous groups, the caravan will share its travel progress on social media. However, unlike previous caravans, the majority of workers are expected to stop in Mexico to find work. Many plan to find work in new programs, recently announced by inaugurated President André Manuel López Obrador, according to Mexico News Daily. López Obrador has pledged to grant work visas to Central Americans searching for work in Mexico. Still, many of these migrants will likely continue on to the United States. Now, just to keep from reading the whole story, they're still in Tijuana, costing tens of thousands a day. So again, link will be down in the description. You can find this story there. Before the break, I was talking about living in a post-truth world, and that brought a quote to my mind. That actually brought two quotes to mind. In his seminal work, 1984, George Orwell wrote, "He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past." Now, in the video games Red Alert Command & Conquer, the evil character of Cain said, "He who controls the past commands the future. He who commands the future conquers the past." So, a variation on Orwell's work, but just as apt and accurate. In 2019 and going into 2020, I think historians will remember this whole decade of 2010 to 2020 as the left and the right battling for truth, for their definition of the truth. Hell, this goes all the way back to the 1990s with Bill Clinton. You know, can you tell me what the definition of is? If you go to Trey Gowdy grilling Peter Strzok in front of Congress. We are battling every day for the very definition of what is true and what is false. For what is real and what is imagined. Our very reality is at stake. Because we are faced with groups of people who act in willful defiance of provable reality. And they'll say that I do the same when it comes to climate change, or that, people on the right do the same when it comes to climate change. And again, it comes down to provable reality. All of climate change activism is based on models and based on estimates. It's not based on fact, on provable fact. I was having a debate the other day with my sister-in-law, as I frequently do. She's one of my more common debate partners. Not to say that she's common by any stretch of the imagination. She's actually highly astute, very intelligent, and extremely argumentative, which is one of the reasons I think sharpening the saw with her definitely helps me in everything that I do and in all my thought processes. Perception is reality. Is something that's thrown around in the marketing world and in the sales world an awful lot. And it's an old idea. I'm trying to figure out, where the quote comes from. I'll figure it out another time, but apparently it's a wise old saying. If you are perceived to be something, you might as well be it, because that's the truth in people's minds. And this is where we come down to what is anchoring our society. Our society used to be anchored by the Enlightenment philosophies, which were a strange combination, very strange bedfellows, of Judeo-Christian, biblically oriented moral truth and the scientific truth of the Enlightenment era, of Newton, of other Enlightenment age thinkers, of Copernicus. What anchors us now? What anchors us today? What is the reality that anchors us? I read this story and I see another 1,500 migrants coming up from Honduras. Many of them are going to stop in Mexico to get work, but many of them are going to continue on to the United States. And I see an illegal immigrant invasion essentially marching up against the United States. I envisioned them at the border, the way we saw them in San Diego a couple weeks ago. Yeah, like that. I see smoke bombs. I see protests. I see people trying to rush the gates. But immediately prior to that, the media was saying, oh no, that's not going to happen. Nobody can even imagine that. The president is crazy saying this is an invasion, and then it happened. And now with this news cycle, it's going to happen again. They're going to say, no, it's not going to happen. They're not going to storm the gates. They're not going to try to sneak into the country. And they're going to. And I hope it doesn't go violently. I hope that the Border Patrol doesn't have to use tear gas and smoke bombs and dogs and tasers and things. But it's probably going to happen. We are battling for truth. We are battling for reality. Because make no mistake, the people on the far left, the progressives that are out there, and the people on the far right, the constitutionalists, the conservatives, the social conservatives, so your SJWs and your social conservatives, we do not live in the same reality anymore. We live on different planes of existence that occupy the same physical space. Think about it. If perception is reality, then the split between left and right in this country, between progressivism and social justice and typical conservatism and libertarianism, the divide is quite real. It is that we do not look out and see the same world. And I don't know how to bridge that. When I started the HoloNet, I had some lofty goals, man. I had some high-minded goals that I wanted to bring on people, with different perspectives and different points of view, and, have some libertarian people come on, some liberal people come on, some progressives, sit around a table and talk and continue talking. And in that, I have to grip the mirror. I have to look you in the eye and tell you that I have failed. I have failed. I've made many attempts to try to get people who I know who are of the progressive bent or of the leftist bent to come on, and I'm not calling them out or blaming them or angry at them, but I've never been able to make it happen. I've spoken to some libertarians. I had some great ones on this show early on, with the Third Party Problems series. I haven't had very many guests on. And, that I blame myself for too. And that's a New Year's resolution for 2019 is going into the next year on this show. I'm going to try to have more people on, different voices, different guests, different ideas. But I'm beginning to question whether the original goal of the HoloNet is even possible going into year 3 of the Trump presidency. Is it actually possible to bring these disparate factions together when we do not even share a common vision of what is real? When we cannot agree that water is wet and that fire will burn, or that the sky is blue, when we can't agree that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. I remember in history class seeing that sign that was carried during the civil rights days of "I am a man." A black man just carrying a sign that says, "I am a man." And just the truth in that statement just slaps you in the face that color is irrelevant. Black, brown, red, yellow. rainbow, don't matter. That is a man. Right there. And in 2018, 2019, 2020, we can't even agree on that anymore. The anchors are cut. The underpinnings of our world have sheared away under the collective weight of people who demand that their perception be reality. That the world bend to suit their whims. That reality itself must bend to their will. And before anybody goes off and says, oh my God, this is a whole hour of just him busting gender fluid people. No. I'm talking about economics. Where people go, oh yeah, socialism works, we just haven't done it right yet. Where people talk about ethno-states, those have never worked, ever. It always ends in death. So there's me flying in the face of the alt-right, that you can't do a homogenous ethno-state in today's world without people dying. We haven't just lost touch. But the very ties, the very invisible bonds which hold reality together, which hold the world as one, are gone now. So the goal in 2019 must be to reconnect. I'm not talking about trying to change people's minds anymore, because I don't think we can. I think we're past that. I think what we need to focus on and concentrate on is what, if anything, can we agree on? Between our two planes of existence, or our multitude, or millions of planes of existence, we're going into the multiverse here now, folks, where everybody has their own friggin' defined universe that is purely composed of just what they perceive. What are the connecting points between them? Where's the overlap? Where can we build a bridge? They call it intersectionality on the left. Well, let's turn it on them. And let's use it for good. What is the intersection? Where is the overlap between the progressive left and the social conservative right? And the libertarians? From one American to another, what is the overlap? Where is the place that we can meet where we point at something and say, yes, that's a dog. You know, maybe that's it. Everybody loves dogs. Most people love dogs. Most people can at least identify successfully what a dog is. Is that a dog or is that a cat? Or is that a Bradley fighting vehicle? You know, there usually isn't any confusion or debate on this point of whether it's a dog or a cat. Maybe we need to take some cues from 2-year-olds like my boys. What are the simple facts that we can agree on? I think one of the few left is that a human being is a human being. That's like the one pin left that's holding together the entire rapidly spinning machine. And that is holding with all of its might. Is that we are all human beings. And if we can start there, if we can start there again, maybe there's a chance we can come back from all of this. Or maybe not come back, but maybe at least find a way to get through this without it becoming another one of history's tragedies. That's what I'm looking for in 2019. And that's what I'm rededicating the HoloNet to do. is to speak the truth. Not my truth, not somebody else's truth, but the truth. Everywhere that I can find it. And remember that we are still human beings. If everything else is forgotten, we must hold on to that. I went off on a bit of a tear. I had like 10 stories I was going to go through and the hour's over. Isn't that something? Man. Well, I'm going to put them down to the description for you. Let's see what we have here. Women's March event canceled over concerns of being, quote, overwhelmingly white. The organizers of the Women's March rally in California, this is on Fox, by the way. Organizers of the Women's March rally slated for Northern California next month have canceled the event, saying they were concerned the participants would have been, quote, overwhelmingly white. In the news release, organizers for the march in Eureka, about 270 miles north of San Francisco, said Friday the decision was made after many conversations between local social change organizers and supporters of the march. This is, again, another one of those issues where I say, what is the important connective tissue here that they're all women? They're all women! The fact that you don't have any black or Hispanic women there and that they're mostly white women shouldn't matter, because that's not the overarching connective tissue there. The connection is that they're women. It's a woman's march. This is right up there with Jenner winning Woman of the Year. How raw is that? How offensive to a feminist must that be? That only a man could win Woman of the Year. It's getting ridiculous, isn't it? It's getting to be where I can't look at this stuff anymore without just shaking my head. Putin now tells Trump that Moscow is open for dialogue. Of course, the leftist media screams, collusion, in one unified voice. Brazil's new president, the far-right president, said it is a matter of when, not if, they move their embassy to Jerusalem. Their new president-elect, Jair Bolsonaro, who by many has been called the Brazilian Trump, the far-right Bolsonaro, not a shock. He said he would follow the lead of President Donald Trump in moving the embassy. And Rudy Giuliani, attorney for the president in the Mueller investigation, said Mueller needs to put up or shut up. Folks, 2018's been a hell of a ride, hasn't it? I expect 2019 to be even wilder. But as long as we keep in mind that we're all human beings and that we all have to share this world, I think it's going to be all right. From Phoenix, you're listening to the HoloNet podcast on the Lanterns Media Network. Good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America.